This happened in 2014 when I was 26, and my ex-fiancée was 25 female. Let's call her Barb. We met in college and dated for 3 years prior to our engagement, with a wedding date booked by the 4th year. Neither of our parents are well off financially, and she was attending grad school, so the financial responsibility fell on me, which totaled $20,000 that was paid in full 4 days prior to the wedding. Leading up to that nightmare of an evening, we had our typical mid-20s relationship issues. Bouts of poor communication, excessive drinking on weekends, and an occasional fight over trivial bullshit. Aside from that, we had a great relationship and spent a ton of time together figuring out post-college life and planning for our future. As I said above, the wedding and reception venue cashed my check 4 days before the wedding, and the contract stated this was non-refundable. Over 120 guests were confirmed, a couple of dozen from out of state. Tuxes and bridesmaid dresses were fitted and paid, and everything was falling into place. Now let's get to the inevitable shitstorm of events that you're all interested in before I keep rambling. The night in question was a Friday evening in our new apartment that we'd moved into a few weeks prior. We decided to have about a dozen friends over to pre-game and head out to the bars in town. Included in this group of friends was my buddy, whom I've known since kindergarten. We'll call him Ricky. Barb and I had spent a lot of time with Ricky over the last 3 years. He was definitely one of her favorite one of my pals, which is generally awesome when your significant other gets along with people in your social circle. The night started at a local hookah lounge that was bring your own bottle. By the time we left there, a 1x5 of Jameson and 30 racks of Yuengling were gone, and everyone was buzzed. The next 3 hours were spent between 2 to 3 bars, which resulted in the entire group devolving into a drunken, belligerent mess. Once the bars closed, most people went home with the exception of myself, Barb, Ricky, and another couple who came back to our apartment for a nightcap. Once back at our place, the couple only lasted another 20 minutes before calling it and making their way home, so I was left with Barb friggin' Ricky. Earlier in the night, at the hookah bar, I noticed Barb checking her phone more than usual, and simultaneously Ricky checking his phone after she locked the screen. I almost put 2 and 2 together, but why would I worry about them planning anything shady 2 days before I was supposed to marry this girl? Back at my house, I was fairly sober and noticed all the booze was gone. I was contemplating picking up a couple of 6-packs from a local spot that stays open until 3 a.m. Barb and Ricky were definitely on the liquor and tanked, but there was no reason to suspect anything sketchy would occur if I ran out for 20 minutes. Once in my car and preparing to exit my apartment complex, I got a sinking feeling in my gut that something wasn't right, and it completely freaked me out. So, I called my best bud, and he agreed to be picked up and join me on the beer run and accompany me back to the apartment. After grabbing some bud heavies and returning home, we walked up to the sliding glass door that led to my living room, which had a sectional to the immediate right. We opened the door and took 2 steps inside the apartment. My ex-fiancée was completely topless and mounted on Mr. Ricky fucking Tonsil deep down each other's throats. The amazing part of the situation was neither of them appeared to notice that my buddy and I were 10 feet away, watching their sloppy, drunken escapades. After 7 to 10 seconds of attempting to comprehend the current situation, I lost it. I dropped the booze, threw her backward off Ricky completely topless, and landed 2 hard right hooks to Ricky's eye and cheek while he was still lying on his back with the most terrified look on his face. To put things in perspective, I am 6 foot 220 pounds and have played hockey my entire life. He is 5 foot 6 inches, 140 pounds and a runner. Immediately following the assault with my fist, Ricky started snoring and was asleep for at least 5 minutes while I was losing my mind over the situation. Without thinking, I called her parents about 10 times until they woke up. I demanded they come to pick up their cheating daughter immediately. Their house was only 5 minutes down the road, so they walked in shortly thereafter while I was laying into Barb about her unforgivable, disgusting decision. Her parents frantically walked into me screaming at Barb, Ricky assed out on the couch, and my buddy mediating the situation. The first thing I told everyone was the wedding was fucking off. I demanded the ring back and said I'd rather lose $20 than spend the rest of my life with a cheating bitch. Her parents spent the next 20 minutes attempting to talk me out of it and occasionally defending Barb's actions. They were saying things like, "Why can't you forgive her? Or isn't it too late to cancel the wedding?" Meanwhile, Ricky woke up and the right side of his face had swollen to the size of a grapefruit, and his left eye was completely shut. Kicking him out of the apartment was tough because he was too drunk to drive. I called his brother, who was 20 minutes away, and spent that time laying into Barb, Ricky, and her parents. Surprisingly, I was able to stay level-headed enough to express my thoughts in such an extreme state of rage. The few times I've been this upset in the past, my brain felt like it was scrambled, and I had a hard time condensing and forming my thoughts into logical statements. Not this time. By the time Ricky's brother picked him up and Barb's parents shuttled her home, I had systematically picked apart any objection, opinion, or plea for reconsideration expressed by everyone in the room. It felt really fucking great. I'm not going to pretend the following months were easy and everything worked out in my favor. 2 months later, the pharma company I worked at decided to lay off my entire division. I had racked up thousands in credit card debt to pay for the wedding. Unemployment haunted me for 5 months and I was diagnosed with major depression. Life was fucked up for a few years and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Now that I'm 30, things have settled down and I couldn't be happier. Just a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. It helps a lot. Now moving on to our second story. My wife and the coach. My wife and I are 33, married for approximately 11 years. We live in a once rural area that is fast becoming a suburb to a medium-sized metro area. Our high school graduating class had a little over 200 kids, now approaching 500 graduates. I grew up on a farm. When I was 6, my mother just never came home one day. So, my dad raised me. I took on my farm duties. In other words, I worked hard. Eventually, my dad quit farming. He leased his fields to other farmers. He took a factory job. He invested his lease proceeds into buying up more land. Through the Great Recession, he acquired many properties. On one of these properties, there was a house he gave to me to fix up and start a family. It's in a trust with his other property, but we pay all the bills. My wife grew up lower middle class. A great family that always treated me well. They moved to the area while we were in junior high. We dated all through high school and were married once I had a steady job. Before then, I did everything to earn $1. Need to haul junk out of a barn, folks would call me. Need your house painted? I can do it. If you get what I mean. We have an 8-year-old son. She is a stay-at-home mother. Now, I am a route driver for a large snack company. I have more than doubled the size by going into every mom and pop store, grocery and gas station and selling as much product as I can. I have a large area because the surrounding area is still rural. The plan was to have the wife run the second truck. There are projected supercenter grocery or merchandise to be built in the next year in my area. If I own the route, it will be mine. We have been married since a couple of years out of high school. Our marriage hit some rocky spots, I think, because I put in long hours. I try to be there, but admittedly am not. We have had lots of fun and love our boy with every fiber of ourselves. He is the typical boy. He is now into sports. He played basketball in the winter and baseball this past spring and is now into flag football. So we hit a low spot relationship-wise in the spring. My wife and I talked about it and each made promises to do better. Late April through mid-June, our sex life went off the charts. We could not get enough of each other. To be honest, I may have been getting too much because I was dog-tired but still ran my route. My son was playing ball. I never missed a game, but I did not hit all his practices. With most youth sports, the dads take an active role in the coaching or helping out. I just could not give that commitment. My wife stepped up and helped out when needed. The baseball coach, Ted, is the ex of a very good friend from high school, Mary. She was the smartest kid in school. She went to college, that's where they met. They married, and soon had a son who was also 8. Their marriage hit the skids. Mary moved back home 3 years ago to have help watching the boy with her parents. Ted moved here 2 years ago to be close to their son, and I think to win Mary back. The mid to end of June we sink back into our rut. We talk again in July, promise to recommit. We take a vacation. Still, the relationship is bumpy. Mid-August comes around, the bedroom heats up again. September hits, and we are in a dead bedroom. My son starts playing flag football. He loves it. I drop by practice and see my wife and Ted with a clipboard running the kids through drills. There are a couple of dads helping too. I had no idea she was helping, so I mention it when we get home. My son is excited and shouts out, "She's not helping, she's a coach." It seems when signing the son up, she volunteered to be an assistant coach. This seems to consume a ton of time. The wife is constantly texting, some calls, but generally, when I am there, it's texting. They go to Ted's place every day after school, and he works his son and mine out. He is teaching them how to be better, and it really shows that they are the 2 best players on the team. So their first game comes. I work in the morning and make it to the field for the game. The wife and Ted are side by side, giving directions. Someone sets a chair down next to me. It's Mary, and we watch the game. About halftime, she asks if the wife and I are doing okay. I tell her sure. I look over at her and she is staring at me. She said her son came home after being at Ted's. It had been raining, so there was no workout. They spent the afternoon playing video games. Her son went to the kitchen to get more juice and saw Ted and the wife kissing. He ran back to the game and told Mary that night at home what he saw. I get up at 4 a.m. every day to drive 45 minutes to the warehouse to get my truck. So Monday morning, I got up at 3:30 a.m. to check her phone. After a few tries, I figured out what it was, as she uses like 4 or 5 different ones for everything. There I saw text after text, some nudes, so I took screenshots of some. Usually, I have one day that I spend in town. I sometimes would come home for lunch if I took one, especially when there was a lot of sex going on. I got home and she was not there. I called her, but she did not pick up. I drove by Ted's place and her car was there. I finished my route. She told me she was at the store. She was sorry she missed me. I told her I was just trying to surprise her. Not a big deal. The next week, on the same day, I again let her know I was coming home for lunch. I was parked down the way from Ted's. How she did not see my big old truck is beyond me. She came running out of Ted's, got in her car and raced home. I followed slowly, and when I arrived, she was making me a sandwich. We had a nice conversation. Saturday, after the game, I took my son home, had him change, and took him to my dad's. They were going to fish in the pond, and if he wanted, he could swim. Of course, the wife was not there, so I drove to Ted's. Her car was there. I called her. She was kind of annoyed. Then I asked what she was doing at Ted's. It was just silence. I told her to put her clothes on and come home. When she finally did come home, I was sitting at the table. She again swore at me for accusing her of something. I asked that she sit down. She refuses, getting more agitated by the minute. I told her a little more forcefully to shut up and sit down. Let me say my piece. I had a folder, which she asked what was in it. I told her to sit down so I could show her. I started pulling out screenshots of her texts. She went ballistic that I would snoop in her phone. I then pulled out the more incriminating texts. She tried to explain it away. Then I pulled the nudes out. She shut up. I told her we were done. I would give her until the following Sunday to be out. I was going to an attorney. On Monday, take her clothes and personal stuff. We will figure everything out later. She just sobbed. She said how sorry she was. I just asked a question that I saw on a Reddit advice sub. What did you think would happen when I found out? She had no answer. I have stayed at my dad's since the weekend. I brought my son back on Sunday so he could catch his bus to school on Monday. I had explained to him Mom and Dad would not be living together anymore, but he would still live in his house. I got home tonight and all her stuff was gone. We had agreed she would pick him up after school. She could stay until I got home or I would pick him up at her parents'. Update. I cannot cut her out of my life. We have a young son together. We have filed for divorce. She will be served next week. I am not going to do anything to embarrass her like serving her at a game, etc. I told her the papers were coming. She wanted some things from the house. My attorney said no. She can petition. I think that's the word he said when she answers the court for certain items. Myself, there is not much I care for, so she probably can have them. What she wanted was not her personal stuff like clothes and makeup. Many have asked what she is doing with herself now. She is still at her parents' house. My son goes there most days until I get home from work. I have been trying to finish up by 5 p.m. most days, not working the extras. My attorney is working with another to keep my business out of the proceedings. My dad has offered to buy my route and hire me as an employee if that's what it takes. I will have to pay her support. We will share custody. It's lonely at home after my son goes to bed, but I am dealing with it. I have a couple of projects to keep me busy. I have lots of friends offering all kinds of help, from babysitting to meals. Last Saturday at the game, most of the parents that came all clustered around me with their chairs instead of spreading out along the sidelines. I was very touched. We have only this week's game and playoffs, and then we are done. Basketball will be next. All the parents I have talked to will request Ted not be their child's coach. Many have asked about Mary. She has been my friend for so many years. Many have asked about ending up with her. First, the pain of separation really still hurts. I can't see myself doing anything other than adjusting to my new life and providing for my son. I mentioned that Mary was the smartest kid in our school. She is so far out of my league. I would only hold someone like that back. We are sharing the hurt. It's her ex that moved here to maybe reconcile.